Get involved in politics, guys. Get out the vote. Pokemon, go to the polls, guys. At the end. Okay. That's totally irrelevant. It's totally irrelevant. That had nothing to do with anything you just said. So she's just you haven't done. Why do they lie? Why do they claim they've done research on this? Well, you've never researched anything. Wu has decided to do that. Wu thinks of herself as some kind of political strategist, but is completely unwilling to argue any specific point. That does sound like Brianna did actually just address at least one point there. You better not respond to me, Rob, because I can't do this. And then I'm totally back to normal again and speaking fine again. So she doesn't even know. She doesn't know. She has no idea. She's got no idea. So today we have got, yesterday, Wick had a panel about American institutions, whether they're broken, and why do so few people trust them. Fuck. Say it eventually. Jesus Christ. Why do so few people trust them? There we go. It had Brianna Wu, Connor Boy, Rob Noerr. Who else was on it? Elder Drazi, Parallax. Some of our favorite characters around here. Obviously, Elder Drazi still seems to have a trench running across his face. Connor Boy looks even worse than I possibly could have imagined. I can't see the camera was a good choice here. Parallax. What was it DK used to call him again? And Rob Noerr, the Chad. He's here to disrupt, okay? This is the heel. Rob Noerr is the Chad heel here. And he absolutely... I mean, we've skipped to kind of where it happens here. I don't want to spoil anything. But he absolutely mauled Wu. It was pretty crazy. It was pretty rough. I was watching some of it live. I switched over because the anything else stuff started kicking off. But I was watching some of it live, and Rob, listen, Rob heads are going to be up big. Rob heads are up big. I know there's a lot of Rob heads, surprisingly. Usually when there's someone like Rob Noerr, who has had many fights with Destiny and is like a conservative and kind of, you know, he's very libertarian, isn't he? Usually when there's someone like that, everyone just hates him by default. But there's a lot of Rob heads. There's a lot of robbers. I don't think Rob's stupid. He clearly knows more about this shit than most people do, right? If I got into an argument with Rob Noerr about any of this shit, I would lose. I would absolutely lose. Any of this stuff, I would absolutely get stomped. You can regurgitate information like a dragon breathing fire, yeah. Piers Van Cleef saying something that I already know and have already addressed. Cool. Okay. He's really brought in on the right-wing stuff. Hard to tell how smart he is. Yeah, exactly. But I just don't have the... I don't have the backing knowledge to, like, debunk everything he's saying. You know? I don't think anyone does. So it's just, you know... Because you have to unpick, like, 500 different things. You kind of get scallops a little bit, but... You know. That's the way it goes. Okay. Let's start anyway. So, Brianna had a total meltdown on this panel. It's pretty funny.
Okay. Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of WhickTV, a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. Today, we are going to be talking about institutions. We are, in America, at an all-time low when it comes to confidence and trust in our institutions. This includes things like academia, Congress, the presidency, even the military.
Wow.
While it does retain a lot of trust, it is the least amount of trust that it has since we started recording. France has more trust in their military than Americans have in their military. So it's a real big problem, and we're going to talk about it today. We're going to talk about why we have this crisis of confidence in institutions across the board. And we're also going to be talking about perhaps ways to fix it if we can. We will have one more person joining us, hopefully, when they get here. But as of now, let's say hi to the guests. We're going to start with Brianna Wu. Oh, and before I do, just so everyone knows, I do get a check from.
Of course, we're starting with Brianna Wu.
So that's out there. Go ahead, Brianna Wu. What do you got?
So, obviously there is a deep crisis.
Oh wait, we've got a quick clip. Not that one.
But you sometimes are really fixated on penises. For example. There isn't even a name for that. Because I wouldn't really consider myself bisexual, but I love penises.
Like you.
All right.
Oh, I was okay.
You can ask your follow-up.
Well,
But you.
Crisis in American politics with believing in institutions. And I think part of the reason that we got here is the left is always yelling at the right and the right is always yelling at the left. I'm sure we're going to hear a lot of really highly partisan arguments today. I think at the core of all of this is really we as citizens have not demanded better from our government. I think across the board, it's hard to think of an institution in American life that hasn't really been politicized and pushed to the absolute limit. So I think part of this is social media. I think that this is a time where the willingness to believe whatever.
I just don't even know. Okay, immediately, I don't even know what Wu's argument is here. She says that the Americans haven't demanded enough from their institutions, and then just completely switches point to, oh, all the institutions are politicized, and this is because of social media. Like, I don't know what is the connection there? I don't.
Part of the reason that we got here is the left is always yelling at the right and the right is always yelling at the left. I'm sure we're going to hear a lot of really highly partisan arguments today. I think at the core of all of this is really we as citizens have not demanded better from our government. I think across the board, it's hard to think of an institution in American life that hasn't really been politicized and pushed to the absolute limit. So I think part of this is social media. I think that this is a time where the willingness to believe whatever you want to believe, it's easier than ever. I think the spread of conspiracy theories has added to this tremendously. But I think the really big reason is this growing extremism that exists on both sides.
Okay, so she said that we haven't demanded enough of our institutions, and then just completely drops that point and moves on to totally irrelevant stuff like this. None of this has anything to do with demanding more of your institutions. She's just bitching about how people on social media disagree a lot and believe stupid stuff now.
Of conspiracy theories has added to this tremendously. But I think the really big reason is this growing extremism that exists on both sides. If you look at where I was a decade ago in my politics, I was really talking a lot more about, abortion, women's rights, kind of bread and butter feminist issues. Today, almost everything I talk about is just defending our institutions. I think the very best we get from government is what we demand of it. And I think for whatever reason, a lot of Americans have decided our government is corrupt. There's no magic system here. There's no one coming to the rescue.
But this is so dumb. This is a follow-up to her point that we need to demand more of our institutions. Now she's like, oh, a lot of Americans have decided institutions are corrupt. If someone's calling an institution corrupt, that is them demanding more of it. No, it's saying you've got to clean up what you're doing. You got to clean up your act, even if they might be wrong about whether it's corrupt or not, about what the corruption is, but that is still them demanding more of that institution. I don't understand. Like, what is even the fucking argument here? I'm so lost immediately. I don't understand it until people like this person get away with acting like they know anything. It's insufferable. It's so insufferable.
the simple answers. We have to stand up. We have to save our country. We have to participate. That means running for office. It means being informed. It means making compromises. We have an entire generation, I think, that sat out politics. I think it's time for us to get involved.
Okay, well, thank you for being here. We'll get in.
And then just get involved in politics, guys. Get out the vote. Pokemon, go to the polls, guys. At the end, okay, that's totally irrelevant. It's totally irrelevant. That had nothing to do with anything you just said. Yeah, so I think institutions are corrupt because we haven't demanded enough of them because conspiracy theories, social media, Watermelon Twitter, Gamergate. Get out the vote, guys. Sweet. Okay, sick intro, Woo. Thank you.
Into it as we go. Econo
Yeah,
Boy.
I got absolutely fucking nothing of worth from that whatsoever. Just totally vapid. Walk to a polling station and vote. Yeah, okay.
What do you got for us?
Hey guys, yep, I'm Econo Boy. Check me out on Econo Boy or my podcast, The Three Wonks. My thoughts on this particular topic. Yeah, I guess it's always important to talk about the root causes, I guess. So of course we can agree that there's a general lack of trust in institutions over time. You can look at polling, how many, what percent of people support or not support, but what percent of people trust in the police, the military, the Supreme Court, the government in general. And then pretty much all those polls, you see record lows for various reasons, trust in Congress or whatever it is. And so to me, I think that some pretty clear reasons why this has happened. Number one, inequality has gone up over time.
Once Econo Boy called in fucking hammered to talk to Destiny and Mr. Girl, it was hilarious. I don't remember that. I don't know, I can't see that. Okay.
Typically when you have inequality, whether it be some sort of social or economic inequality, obviously the two are very intertwined. You end up with social discohesion, you end up with higher crime rates, you end up with less trust in your various institutions because what the heck, I'm in such a terrible state, but these people are in such a good state in a relative sense, and so you end up with a lot of social discontent. And another reason is that the information age that we live in is just like
a gay Amish guy. Now I've seen everything.
Fundamentally, in some ways, incompatible, it seems like, with how we evolved as a species. Social media has really caused the nationalization of politics and the internet as well, which has caused people to have much more strong opinions on politics than they used to. Polarization's also gone up as a result of that. And I think that what we see in the post-2010 period is all these sorting algorithms and things like that are exposed on every social media platform. You just end up with a lot of people who just aren't really exposed to the opposite side, and so it's easy to caricature the opposite side no matter what the opposite ends up being, depending on what you lived in. Whereas before, if you're a farmer from the Midwest or something, it's oh, you're a Democrat, I'm a Republican, we see each other every day, it's not the biggest deal in the world, there's going to be more marginal disagreements, and at the very least you end up sort of implicitly being around people that disagree a little bit more often. Whereas today, it's just a lot easier to stay in your own group, right? And not really venture out and caricature the other sides. And I think the internet just kind of, sorting algorithms really exacerbate that. And so I think that's one of the reasons you see that. More polarized people tend to just be less happy overall, right? And they tend to be more distrustful overall. And so I think that those are some of the root causes. The last thing that I'll say is that there are countries that exist today with high levels of trust in their government. And what you see is exactly what I'm describing in those countries. You see typically low levels of inequality. You see high levels of state capacity, which is to say that the state can do a lot of things efficiently, which we don't have that in America for various reasons, which we could get into. And you also see very good democratic institutions, which is to say that the government's responsive to changes in opinion and policy.
Okay, so this wait, but this has nothing to do with social media. Why? Okay.
Policy, their government's...
He's saying there was that whole thing about social media at the start there, and now he's saying he's laying out the common features of countries that have high trust in their institutions, and he's saying, well, generally what causes people to have high trust in their institutions is when they've got good social safety nets and a good healthcare system, and that the state can provide a lot of things efficiently. But yeah, I would agree with that. I wouldn't say it's got anything to do with social media, or at least social media's effect can kind of be mitigated by the institutions doing their job properly, right? It's because for various different reasons and various different governments, institutions in Western countries, governments have, been on a kind of a rocky road for the last 10 years. So yeah, faith in the institutions probably pretty low. It's not just social media. But I mean, from what I caught last night, Econo Boy just said some of the dumbest stuff. I mean, I've heard Mr. Girl say this too. I think it's just such a stupid prescription, personally. The idea that he proposes banning sorting algorithms from social media, banning sorting algorithms, period. It's like that's just such an insane proposal. I feel like sorting algorithms are used in so many ways and so many functions of sites that it's like you almost can't disentangle them. Right? I would imagine. I don't know why it's such a popular take. I know why it's such a popular take. It's because people are like, because we are kind of there is sort of a problem where people consume their own like media bubble and essentially construct just a total contained reality where they never have to engage with any shared experience with any other person. They can simply purely just create an imagined world. Like when you see those, what was it, that thing Chud pulled up the other week where it's like that shit where there was a totally unsourced, unverified claim that the IDF had trained dogs to rape prisoners. And it's like people will literally construct an entire view of the world where stories like that are just totally true to them. They just believe that. And they'll just they'll take a million stories like that. And they've just got this whole completely different view of the world that is totally incongruent with everyone around them. Because they're not watching, you know, it's not like they're watching the same TV channels as everyone else at 6 p.m. at night when they finish work anymore. They've just got purely tailored experiences from every social media platform and nothing in common with anyone around them. So it is kind of a problem, but but the idea that the solution to the problem is ban sorting algorithms. Okay, well, this seems like, first of all, an insane step to take. Like, there's probably plenty of application of sorting algorithms that you would not have an issue with. Like, is it bad to have sorting algorithms for product recommendations? I can understand the problems it creates when you're talking about politics and news stories. But it does seem to have a bit of a corrosive effect on the way people engage. So I understand the concern there. But what's the concern with sorting algorithms for product recommendations? What's the concern that when I open up Depop, I've got my sorted selection of secondhand clothes for me to buy exceedingly cheap. My sorted selection I can scroll through. But what's the problem with that? We probably don't have an issue with that, do we? That's just another product. So yeah, I think it's just a stupid, kind of simplistic, reductive take. Doesn't actually, you know, there is no way that we ever pass laws that ban sorting algorithms. It's just not happening. That's such a broad sweeping thing to remove. It's crazy. But I just don't think there's any point even proposing it. That you might as well come up with a more realistic.
It's also typically very transparent, and the government's also typically very low corruption. So when you have all these things together, you end up with pretty high trust in government. To answer the topic directly, yeah. Are institutions beyond reproach? No, of course not. I think it just takes implementing the right policies.
Okay, well, thanks for being here. Gang, let's try to keep them under a minute. I know we got a lot to say, right? But I want to get through these to get to the meat of the discussion. Parallax, what do you have for us, sir?
Yeah, I think that, at least in my lifetime, I have definitely seen a degradation of trust in institutions that has continuously gone down. I very clearly remember the way that conservatives talked about Bill Clinton and the way that liberals talked about George Bush. There has been, however, a uniquely deleterious effect since 2016 due to the change in rhetoric that we have had from our candidates themselves. And it has ratcheted up the amount of distrust as well as...
Exactly. This is probably I would trust this argument more than the social media argument. The idea that the introduction of broad distrust into sort of like, you know, the common politics conversation like among candidates, that's probably had more of an effect than social media. If you've got one of your main candidates claiming the election was rigged, saying about the deep state and about, you know, for like having an entire campaign on drain the swamp and lock her up, and then no change. Like, there is no swamp draining, there is no locking her up. It's like, yeah, well, now you're just in a situation where you've just primed a bunch of people to think that the entire country's fucked and completely compromised, right? That's probably had more of an impact than social media or sorting algorithms.
The language on both sides such that relative to what it was before, it's kind of embarrassing. Looking at the opening remarks, for example, of the 2012 debate between Romney and Obama, the first debate, versus any opening remarks of any debate since, will draw a very stark contrast. And I think that it is probably not beyond repair, but I'm relatively doom-repilled on the prospects of how quickly we can turn this around and how quickly we can restore that trust, especially so long as we have candidates in the spotlight that are using extremely incendiary language that acts to defy those very institutions.
Okay, well, thanks for being here, and we will get into it as we go. Until Eldrazi, if he does show, gets here. And if he doesn't, we got another guy. And I got backups on backups on backups, okay? But last but certainly not least, Rob Noerr, please.
Thank you. Unlike Wick, I'm not played by Progressive Victory. However, if any of you have contacts, I'll happily take money from them to argue Biden should stay in the race. That's something that I feel passionately about. So as a good Republican Trump supporter, I'll more than happily take money to argue that case. Everyone seems to agree that trust in these institutions has declined significantly. The question is why, and we have a lot of interesting answers. I think I have the answer. It's because these institutions shouldn't be trusted. That's why trust is going down, because they've showed themselves to be corrupt or incompetent time and time again. Now, does this mean every institution in the country is corrupt? No. If I say that, for example, medical institutions have showed corruption or incompetence, does that mean that you shouldn't trust Tylenol or you shouldn't go to the doctor? No, that's not what I'm saying. But it is clear that many of these institutions have personal motivations or motivations that benefit themselves. That means that they're operating outside the scope of what we expect, such as the medical industry, the media, our government institutions, academia, cultural institutions such as Hollywood, corporate institutions such as algorithms on social media, etc. These all amped up. I agree with Parallax in 2016.
Yeah, man, an algorithm is a corporate institution. That's what an algorithm is. Sure. On God.
Existed before. Remember Romney's binders full of women and he was going to enslave black people. I think that you could see that the media is almost always entirely skewed one way. And in my lifetime, they have become evident that they are no longer journalists. They're just propagandists. And the left is starting to see that, particularly people like Wick, who I see on social media that are saying, wow, why is so many people in the media coming out against Biden all of a sudden, including telling stories that aren't vetted? Well, the reason, Wick, isn't because they've all of a sudden become corrupt or they've all of a sudden given away their journalistic integrity. It's because they feel it's the best way for their side to win power. And that's what it feels like to be a conservative or to be someone like a Trump supporter. Trump is just a symptom of the greater problem. The reason that this brash Manhattanite billionaire that has nothing in common with flyover country was so supported by them is because we were desperate for any institution or anyone with institutional power to treat us like Americans, to treat us as people that there wasn't contempt for. Because all of the media, almost all of it, all of Hollywood, all of academia, etc., has treated us like 10-tooth rubes in flyover country that are just racist and need to shut up and die. That's how we've been treated. And so Trump was the symptom that was a result of that. And you could see when there was someone as a potential outsider to the system, how these institutions all came together to attack them. So look forward to talking about specific examples. And yeah, it should be a fun debate.
We'll get into it.
Yeah, all the shit Rob actually says, listening to who has actual beliefs is just so fucking boring. I'm not gonna lie. I just want him to press woo.
And thankfully, someone who I have to extend a lot of gratitude. He was willing. 20 minutes ago, I said, hey, we had someone drop out and I need a replacement. This man stepped up to the plate. So no matter how he does tonight, thank you for being here.
Sorry, wait a minute. I said that Rob talking about his beliefs was boring, but we're about to get Eldrazi talk about his beliefs. So, you know, I'll probably be singing Rob's praises in a second.
Here, Eldrazi, give us what you got, and then we'll get to the open discussion. Yeah.
All right, so I just want to check. Can you guys hear me good? I set this up super fast.
Nope, you're good.
Okay, cool. So, my understanding is the topic is why don't we trust institutions, and how can we fix it? I would say the institutions, fundamentally, you should not trust them. You should have a distrust of anything that commands the power of authority to tell you either that what you should be doing, what you should be thinking. It doesn't matter if it's medical, all across the board. You should have a healthy dose of distrust, and the ones that you find out have been lying or manipulating or basically all the wonderful things that institutions have done historically that we don't like, even less so. But by its very nature, they command too much power to not corrupt the individuals that are working within it. So you have to have some distrust of it. If something is suspicious, you should be immediately looking into it. I don't think.
Oh, what an absolute fucking Reddit take, dude. Just a total. Yeah, a bot take. Fucking Reddit bot take. Obviously, when someone's talking about distrust, they're talking about an opposition to it, right? Yeah, obviously you should have healthy skepticism. When people talk about distrust in this context, they obviously mean people who immediately assume the institutions are lying or constantly looking for conspiracy theories. That's what's being talked about here. You know, oh, I think you should distrust them because you should have a healthy skepticism towards the claims they make and whether they're acting in your best interests. Yeah, no shit, no one's saying otherwise, really, are they? Obviously, you should have skepticism. Yeah, I doubt Eldrazi actually distrusts institutions. Yeah, exactly. I doubt he goes around through his life fucking fact-checking every institution. He probably actually does trust them on a day-to-day basis.
That there's any reason that they should inherently have any trust, and it's super foolish. All the worst things in history have been done by institutions, not in individuals. So I would say it's inherent, built into the structure of it.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Gang, we will get to super chats at the top of the hour, so keep them coming in. We'll read them out at 7, but we got to get to the discussion as we go. So thank you for the super chats, and I will read them, I promise. But now it's open floor, open discussion. What do we think? A lot's been said.
There was a vaccine to protect me from Elder Drazi. I would take
if I may, Drazi, I agree on a fundamental level that a healthy amount of skepticism is.
Mate, this Elder Drazi guy's got to turn on push to talk. The sounds of him withering and dying and fucking shifting around in his chair as he tries to hold his skin suit together. Fucking disgusting, man. Seriously.
Not only good, but necessary in order for us to be appropriate participants in our institutions themselves. God forbid the world where we all just accept everything given to us by these institutions, right? That said, I think what we're discussing isn't about healthy skepticism.
Yes, guys, great time to remind you to please like, subscribe, donate, buy a membership, gift a membership, buy a super chat if you can. Donate. Did I say that one? I did. Yeah. Go to discord.gg/Kuihman, twitter.com/Kuihman, reddit.com/r/Kuihman. As much on the channel page. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
So much as the actual degradation due to.
Let me just ask you right there. I hate to cut you off, Parallax, but I'll ask you. Do we think?
You're okay.
Yeah. Do we think that the current distrust in institutions is this healthy?
No, it is unhealthy. I think we've reached a point. I think we've reached a point where. And this is something that, you know, I kind of took out when you said to shorten up the opening statements a little bit. I think that part of the...
Oh, fuck, Drazi is so annoying. It is crazy how he's just like a complete irritant to everyone around him at all times, isn't it?
You're okay.
Yeah. Do we think that the current...
Also, why do both Drazi and Parallax have this dogshit background removal?
Distrust in institutions. Is this healthy?
Both their fat wives.
No, it is unhealthy. I think we've reached a point... I think we've reached a point where, and this is something that, you know, I kind of took out when you said to shorten up the opening statements a little bit. I think that part of what Econoboy said is relevant, and I didn't want to repeat what he said, but access to information has been increased, and yet we have not taught people how to better parse that information, how to better sift through that information, how to better determine what information is valuable. Not only in general, but to specifically the causes that you might advocate for, right? And subsequently, when you give people just a smattering of information, so much of it that it almost drowns you, you're going to be able, even for the most astute observers, you're going to be able to sneak some things by. And then you add in the degradation of the institutions and the distrust that has grown. With all of that in mind.
Wow, Jesus. These people just like fucking want to give their dissertation constantly, don't they? Bro, you should be able to answer these questions pretty quickly and express your thoughts succinctly on a fucking panel. I can't lie. It's like totally painful. This is one of the worst things about Wick panels. Everyone on here is so fucking pretentious. I have nothing to say. They have literally nothing to say. So they just ramble and filibuster and talk about nothing for like 5 minutes. Oh, I think the state. Look, over the course of my lifetime, when people used to really trust the institutions, but as I've seen the rise in social media and vitriolic rhetoric coming from Orange Man over the last 8 years, I've noticed that everything's gone downhill. Back when I was protesting the Iraq War, shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! Why do you unmute to beat his keyboard? Okay, so is there Drazi making more noise? Yeah, this is like, I don't know why does Wick let Drazi just distract from the whole panel as well by just making such. Why has he not said anything? Why has he not said, "Hey, Drazi, your mic's making a bunch of noise. I can hear your wife barking in the background. Could you turn on push to talk, please, Drazi? Could you stop shuffling around and coughing and slamming your desk?"
It's valuable, not only in general, but to specifically the causes that you might advocate for, right? And subsequently, when you give people just a smattering of information, so much of it that it almost drowns you, you're going to be able, even for the most astute observers, you're going to be able to sneak some things by. And then you add in the degradation of the institutions and the distrust that has grown. With all of that in mind, I think that you are creating a clear recipe for people to take information, do very little critical thinking, very little processing of it, repeat it, and to spread misinformation and create more distrust.
And just some housekeeping, and I know that you just got here, but we can hear your typing, Elder Drazi, so if you can just
does point
push
out.
to talk or something, that'd be great. So thank you. Okay, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
If I may, to respond to that a little. So first off, it
Let's
would
see
only be...
Stylo. Oh my god.
unhealthy to have I agree in general it's unhealthy to have this level of distrust, but it's not my fault that I'm distrusting of it. The reason this level of distrust exists is because it's warranted, because these institutions have proved themselves to be untrustworthy over and over again. Now, I think this talking point about social media is kind of ironic. Although certainly there's some truth to it, in a world where information is more readily available, that necessarily entails that there will be misinformation that's more able to be spread. For example, something like flat Earth may have been difficult to spread as large as it has in a world before the internet, because if you had little pockets of people talking about this stuff, it would be hard to build a big online community. However, the biggest purveyors of misinformation, at least the misinformation that becomes burrowed into people's mind, are these institutions themselves. For example, Russiagate. That was an example of misinformation that was peddled over and over again by our political class, our intel level class, by our media class that was pushed on social media, etc. And
yeah, that's not my understanding of it. Oh my god. Do I have to sit here and fact check everything? Yeah, I thought Russiagate was real. Manafort admitted selling data to Russia once he was pardoned. Russiagate, my understanding, Russiagate is the idea that members of the Trump team were colluding with Russia to influence the results of the US election. Is that not? That's the allegation, right? That's the fundamental allegation. Some form of that. Yes, but way more. Okay, F-bombs. I know you usually know a lot about this stuff, but I'm also wary of the fact that you are a big damn guy. So, no, so this is from the Cato Institute. I've heard of the Cato Institute before. This is like a pretty good source, right? It says libertarian think tank. Russian agents did conspire to influence the election, undermine Clinton, and help Trump. Trump, as well as people close to him, eagerly welcomed the help. The acquittal last week. Thank you for the $5.
Thelb Taliban super chatted $5.
Thank you. The acquittal last week of think tank analyst Igor Danchenko, a fitting final chapter in the Russiagate saga, was John Durham's 3-year-old probe judged to a halt. Durham, formerly the U.S. Attorney for Connecticut, was appointed in 2019 by Will Barr Bill Barr, Donald Trump's Attorney General, to look into possible misconduct by personnel from the FBI and CIA. Various federal officials and Democratic operatives with regard to the allegations of collusion between Trump associates and Russian agents in the 2016 presidential campaign. In October 2020, Barr elevated Durham's investigation to special counsel status, ensuring that it would continue no matter the outcome of the 2020 election. Both Barr and Durham were fairly explicit about the fact they saw the Trump-Russia investigation, which culminated in the Mueller report, is inappropriate based on the thinnest of suspicions and politically motivated. Thus, the Durham inquiry had an unmistakable subtext of seeking to vindicate the Trumpian narrative of a Russia hoax and a witch hunt of which Trump and some of his associates were innocent targets. Inasmuch as it set out to do that, the Durham probe, which is apparently all over except for a final report that will presumably be produced in the next few months, is a bust. Trump and his supporters have claimed that Durham has still uncovered a vast amount of FBI dirty laundry. There is no question that the probe exposed problems in the FBI's work. To some extent, the Trump-Russia saga has been an exercise in seeing how the sausage gets made, spotlighting, in particular, the fact that surveillance warrants are often obtained on questionable bases, and that intelligence gathering is often an expedition down a rabbit hole in which it can be extremely difficult to tell whether the information you're finding is solid, worthless, or out-and-out fake, deliberately planted to mislead. Danchenko case, full of John Le Carre-like twists, is one such rabbit hole. What's the cliff notes here? Oh wait, let's read this part. Okay, so yeah, let's read this bit. Danchenko, one of the sources for the Steele dossier compiled by retired British intelligence agent Christopher Steele, was accused of lying about his own sources and covering up a Democratic plot to feed him junk info smearing Trump. When the analyst, an expatriate Russian citizen currently living in Virginia, was indicted on 5 counts of lying to federal investigators about a year ago, even some left-of-center publications, such as New York Magazine, suggested that the case not only dealt a death blow to the Steele dossier, which alleged very extensive contacts between Trump's inner circle and Russian intelligence, as well as Russian blackmail based on supposed salacious videos of Trump. Oh, I remember this. I remember that. That was the one that BuzzFeed picked up, right? It compromised the Trump-Russia investigation itself. Now Danchenko has been acquitted. Granted, Durham has cleared a pretty high bar to show that Danchenko not only knowingly lied to the FBI, but his deceptions materially affected the Trump-Russia investigation. Moreover, the dismissal of one of the 5 false statement charges against Danchenko was arguably based on semantic hair-splitting. He denied talking the Democratic public relations guy Charles Dolan about the Steele dossier. In fact, the two had discussed the dossier in emails. Nonetheless, it seems clear that the trial unfolded in a way highly unfavorable to Durham's case. The center claimed that Danchenko had made up his contacts with Belarusian-American businessman and Trump campaign associate Sergei Millian was not only unproven but contradicted by some of the evidence. While initial coverage of the Danchenko arrest depicted him as unreliable and opportunistic paid informant, 2 FBI agents who testified for the prosecution strongly defended the value of Danchenko's information, leaving Durham in the awkward position of trying to discredit his own witnesses. A juicy side note, Danchenko's first moment in the spotlight happened in 2006, when, as a research assistant at the Brookings Institution, he co-authored a study concluding that the dissertation Vladimir Putin supposedly wrote in the 1990s to get a graduate degree in economics was heavily plagiarized. The Danchenko trial was the 3rd case brought by Durham over the course of his special counsel probe. Of the previous 2 cases, the first ended a guilty plea by FBI lawyer Kevin Kleinsmith for altering an email used to renew a wiretap warrant on Trump campaign advisor Carter Page. Kleinsmith inserted several words. Second ended the acquittal of Security Michael Sussman, attorney for Hillary Clinton's use of falsely stating that he was not working part of any client or organization. So basically, it wasn't a hoax because no one was making anything up. None of these people were found to be lying. But then this just seems to be about the Steele dossier, and that's not even. The Steele dossier was obviously a thing that went around, but that's not really the core. Steele dossier was raw intelligence, not alleged fact. Yeah, my understanding is the issue with the Steele dossier was more that BuzzFeed picked it up and ran it as a story instead of the fact that it was made. Okay. What do I search here? Look up Michael Tracy's reporting on Russiagate. Isn't Michael Tracy like a complete fucking retard? Michael Tracy is highly regarded. that a typo? What am I looking for? What did the Mueller report prove? Key findings of the Mueller report from the American Constitution Society. 37 indictments, 7 guilty pleas or convictions, compelling evidence that the president obstructed justice on multiple occasions, uncovered 14 criminal matters to other components of the Department of Justice. Trump associates repeatedly lied to investigators about the context of Russia. President Trump refused to answer questions about his efforts to impede federal proceedings and influence the testimony of witnesses. A statement signed by over 1,000 former federal prosecutors concluded that if any other American engaged in the same effort to impede federal proceedings the way Trump did, they would likely be indicted for multiple charges of obstruction of justice. Russian interference in the 2016 election was sweeping and systemic. Major attack avenues included social media information warfare that favored President Trump. Candidate Trump. The hacking of Clinton campaign-related databases. Release of stolen materials. Russia targeted databases in many states administering elections, gaining access to information from millions of registered voters. The investigation identified numerous links between the Russian government and the Trump campaign and established that the Trump campaign showed interest in WikiLeaks. Okay, so it didn't prove exactly that it colluded on anything specific. Just there was a lot of contact and they were making a lot of steps to help Trump. And Trump was doing a lot of things to avoid it being investigated. But nothing conclusive about collusion. Is that the rundown here? Could not prove coordination. Yes. Okay. Yes. I think I get it. So calling this a hoax is fucking retarded. Okay, well, we can continue now. I mean, Rob was about to spit out 5 more of these, but we fact-checked at least 1.
The bulk of what was being said there was untrue. This was something that was spread because these groups didn't like Donald Trump and they saw it as a potential to weaponize against him. And so they spread this to the point where we actually saw that there was counter information that was hid by these very institutions, such as John Brennan, CIA, whistleblowers coming out since then and saying they actually had information that Russia actually wanted Hillary Clinton to win because they found her to be predictable. But all of that was buried. And instead we were told 17 intel agencies all came to the conclusion and it was all garbage. It wasn't. It was one report that came out of the CIA that a couple intel agencies signed on upon. Now, this happens over and over and over again. And what happens is when we're lied to over and over, predictable, but all of that was buried. And instead we were told 17 intel agencies all came to the conclusion and it was all garbage. It wasn't. It was one report that came out of the CIA that a couple intel agencies signed on upon. Now, this happened.
Okay. Yeah, they all just signed on. They all just signed on. People just sign on to stuff. That's how it works. What is wrong with the investigation? Rob needs to justify what was wrong with the investigation. Which of these findings were incorrect and why? It's insane that you can just say, "Oh yeah, it was just all a load of rubbish." They just signed on. There was all a load of rubbish. No, what was wrong about it? What was said there that was wrong?
Over and over and over again. And what happens is when we're lied to over and over again, people say, I don't trust them anymore. Yes, there will be bad actors that they come in for their own personal reasons that will intentionally spread misinformation. But the vast majority of the worst misinformation, in that it has an effect on the most amount of people and actually changes our culture and politics, came from these institutions themselves. And until there is a reckoning for these institutions, such as the mainstream media and our government, it will happen over and over again, and people will never gain their trust back in them.
Responses.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously, so I don't think that, to the extent that anything that Rob just said is correct, it kind of just goes back to my point about our democratic institutions, right? Because every country with high levels of trust in government has political controversies, has scandals, you know, has any sort of institutional controversy that we could think of. However, the difference is not necessarily in the presence of corrupt or incorrupt let's say, institutions. It's a matter of their policies surrounding those institutions and the democratic frameworks by which people might trust those institutions, right? So, you know, to the extent that we might have a distrust in an institution, we might think that an institution is corrupt, right? Whether or not we agree that something like the CIA is corrupt or not, or the FBI or something like that, it's a question of like how transparently those institutions.
Boy, though, real quick, do you think that our CIA, FBI, and our law enforcement institutions, do you think they're corrupt?
Well, I'm not trying to answer that question, obviously. My point is that the answer as to whether or not they are or not corrupt is not really sort of germane, let's say, to the policies that would improve those institutions, right? So it's one thing to say, oh, well, an institution's corrupt, we just have to get rid of the institution altogether. Well, I don't really think that's true, right? Obviously, federal police exist in all sorts of countries, but there's different levels of trust in federal police. Well, what's the difference, right? The difference is how democratic institutions are set up, right? It's not really the presence of federal police. So when right-wingers and left-wingers say we have to get rid of the FBI, I just think that that's a radical solution for what is ultimately just an issue in how we set up our democracy.
I want to give the ball to Brianna for a moment. I know she's trying to.
So I really
no, what O'Connor Boy said. I think I agree with what O'Connor Boy said there, which is that whether it's corrupt or not, the way you should want more transparency from your institutions anyway, and the way to solve this stuff is with more transparency and better systems dealing with corruption. Right? I agree that the prescription doesn't change based on what position you start off from. But now this is like he's totally dropped the fucking social media point. They all have, because it was a retarded point. It's just a nice, easy, trendy virtue signal thing to say. Oh yeah, people don't trust the government because TikTok. People don't trust the government because Hassan TikTok misinformation. People don't trust the government because of Nick Fuentes Rumble misinformation. It's just that's what they want to say. Alt-right pipeline, like that's how they want that appearance. But we've completely dropped that point because it's completely fucking irrelevant. And the Connor Boy's already laid out the fact that there are countries that have higher trust institutions that don't have. That still have social media, but they have high trust in their institutions because the institutions are set up well, they're transparent, and the state has the power to do things efficiently. So people see a benefit from the institutions having power, and that causes them to trust them. Yeah, that makes sense. But now that's completely divorced from everything else.
I really agree with what you just said, Akana Boy, and I think there is one of the issues with social media is there's a disproportionate.
And now we're back on social media for some reason. No, this is completely irrelevant to social. All the stuff that's being spoken about right now, this is totally irrelevant to social media.
Amount of focus on the scandal versus the solutions and remedies that are eventually.
Like people don't just start believing bad things about their country and about the institution. Usually there's they experience some kind of failure. They feel like there's some negative happening on their life, and then they start. Their brain is sort of looking for reasons. It's the same with immigrants and stuff, right? Countries that are doing, like when the UK is doing well, people don't give a fuck about immigration. When the UK is doing terribly, everyone suddenly cares about immigration. Because it's about, there being bad circumstances and there somewhere to point where you can have problems with it. Something you can have problems with, whether that's, immigrants or institutions or, fucking Hillary Clinton or whatever,
put into place. Let me give you a really good example. When the Iraq War was going on, I protested that to the point that I ended up on the terrorist watch list. Bush had a whole scandal back then about putting war protesters on the terrorist watch list, and every time I tried to fly, it was a nightmare. So I was very, very opposed to that. It's without a doubt we had weapons of mass destruction that did not exist, and that was.
Yeah, like exactly. Dude, talking about the SCOTUS in chat. Wouldn't that be such a better argument right now if you were on the lib side of this argument? Wouldn't that be such a better argument than rambling about fucking social media right now? Say, oh wow, the way we do our Supreme Court seems kind of fucked. It's probably going to inspire a lot of distrust in the institutions in a lot of people because we've just had a huge change in the way reproductive rights work in our country, and then a change in the ability to prosecute a president for illegal actions. That's probably going to inspire a lot of distrust. Wow. So there might be something wrong with the way we've been doing this whole Supreme Court thing. Yeah, that's probably going to make people think that the government's kind of out to get them a little bit. That would be a better argument for the lib perspective for why there's distrust. But no, we're just sitting here rambling about social media sorting algorithms because my Israel Palestine.
Food shops super chatted $9.99. Same with anti-immigration. Lots of violent crime. Look up some paper. Don't look into demographics.
Demographics. Thank you, Max, for the $9.99. Thank you.
Was the reason we went to war. We focused a lot on that, and because of that, we lost a lot of trust in the CIA, our various, intelligence apparatuses, and also our military. And I was really surprised a few months ago when I really did a deep dive on what the reforms were after, the.
I truly don't believe Brianna Wu has ever done any sort of deep dive, any significant research on anything. I don't believe it. Let's hear what she says.
Deep dive on what the reforms were after the weapons of mass destruction didn't exist. We created an entirely new branch of our intelligence apparatus to go through and kind of centralize where all the intelligence was going through, so you wouldn't have one department working on one thing, coming to one assessment, and another coming to another, and then a politician could just pick and choose what they wanted. We had an entire new office open up. Like, the intelligence reforms were put into place.
That seems like she named one. So can anyone fill me in on what she's referring? Does anyone know what she's referring to here? There was a new branch of the intelligence agencies that was put together to coordinate information between departments. And then she says there was a new office built. Is that just the office for whatever this new intelligence agency was? Oh, the Department for Homeland Security. Right, okay. So it just seems like that's... She hasn't done a fucking deep dive then, it doesn't sound like. I did a deep dive into what the reforms were. They set up the Department of Homeland Security. That's one thing. You haven't done a deep... See, why do these people have to fucking lie, dude? Why do they have to cap about what they do? You have not done a fucking deep dive. If you start going to the list, all the reforms that were taken, and all you can name is, like, the one biggest change that happened. People are saying it's not even related to the WMDs, it's about 9/11. Is that true? I don't know. That sounds accurate, because I imagine Homeland Security would be about... That would be about defending the country, right? So an attack on American soil, that would be...
Food shops super chatted $9.99. Woo. Trans. Israel. CIA. Think of the policy decisions, do a deep dive, goy.
Thank you for the $9.99. Yeah, Department of Homeland Security, the impetus for that would be 9/11, surely. Right? Yeah. So she just wrote, you haven't done... Why do they lie? Why do they claim they've done fucking research on this shit? Well, you've never researched anything. You haven't skimmed any Wikipedia page aside from your own for more than 5 minutes. Okay, Woo? You ain't him. You ain't little Steve, Brianna. You're not that guy. And the only reason you skim your own is to constantly re-edit it so you can put the graduate back into the first. Okay, she's never actually done that. That's a joke.
Were really, really substantial. This was the operation working. And yet, I think if you polled Americans, a lot of them would be entirely unaware of that. So I think that, it's not that I'm disagreeing with... Well, I do disagree with the conclusions Rob is coming to. I understand why he would feel that way, because there is a conservative media apparatus that exists to feed conspiracy theories nonstop, and there are a lot of people on the right and the left that are very vulnerable to this. This is part of the human condition. It's why RFK has so much traction with his anti-vax nonsense. But I think that when government goes awry, I do think...
So the Department of Homeland Security opened March 3rd. Was it known that the WMD ship was a lot... sorry, not March 3rd, March 2003. Was it known that the WMD ship was kind of shaky by March 2003? Because weren't there a bunch of hearings that had to happen? I don't think those two are related. I don't think the WMD claim no, we invaded Iraq in 2003. Yeah. It was at the height of the belief. Yeah, so it's totally irrelevant, bro. Yeah, it was purely just about 9/11. Okay.
Generally speaking, in a democracy, we do have solutions for that. And I think it's a disproportionate amount of focus that is really exacerbated in the social media age.
Just to be clear, and I'm going to let Rob respond, and I know Parallax wants to get in too, but just to be clear, what you're saying is the primary reason, or at least one of the primary reasons that the distrust exists is because of a push from narrative in the media.
It's this there, you know,
briefly, because
there are many biases in the media, and sensationalism is one of them. It's very difficult to cover a story about national intelligence reform.
Gotcha. Okay, respond.
May I quickly? Quick.
Oh well,
just be very, very quick.
Wait, I'm just having a fucking brain blast, dude. I'm having a brain blast. I think Brianna said she'd done a deep dive about the intelligence reforms that created like the DHS. Dude, I've heard Destiny on a stream. I'm reaching back into I've heard him say stuff about our intelligence agencies never coordinated before 9/11. The DHS was set up purely in response to that was the first time that the FBI and CIA are even talking to each other. So this idea that they're all colluding is insane. There's so much difficulty getting information. I've heard him go on that rant. That's got to be where she's getting it from. Oh my god, bro. Ryan in chat saying can confirm. Yeah, bro. L moment. Wait. L moment. Fuck, I don't have the L theme song. Never mind.
Adding to what both of them said, I
quickly, Rob's got to get in there. So
I think I want to reply to it. There are two things I would say. That one, I don't think that corruption is a zero-sum game. I think the answer is a blanket yes. These institutions do have some level of corruption, frankly, at all times. Two, I think that distrust in institutions like the CIA is kind of part and parcel with the institution itself and what they do. I think that the more harmful distrust that I think is become more prevalent is institutions like in the seat of the presidency, in the our functions for Congress, and in the Supreme Court. I think that our losing faith in them and the actual distrust that they've earned go hand in hand to create a very volatile.
Literally, you fucking cough into your arm, bro. Just sorry. Excuse me. Excuse me. Please. Thank you for the $9.99, Topher. After 9/11, U.S. created DHS, TSA, and ICE, enacted the USA Patriot Act, established ODNI, strengthened national security laws, Homeland Security Act, Aviation Transport Security Act. Cool. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so what you see here is that it's easy to just wave things away as a conspiracy theory and say that, oh, all of this distrust is just hyped up misinformation from right-wing sources calling it. It's easy to make those claims.
Food shops super chatted $19.99. Democrat PACs are regarded. $10,000 spent on this. Your time's up. It's over. Look into life insurance. Trump is enacting Project 2025 in a couple months.
Okay, I haven't looked into Project 2025. What is this? Because it gives me Great Reset vibes. It gives me what is it? Agenda something vibes, but for the left. So is this like an actual thing? Big Nothing Burger. What is Project 2025? It's a real thing that conservative strategists have come up with and proposed, but there's no indication any of it will actually be implemented, and Trump has publicly tried to distance himself from it. It's a list of policy proposals from the Heritage Foundation, an ultra-conservative think tank that had associates in the last Trump admin. Okay, but Project 2025 is just the standard Republican playbook from the past 20 years, but all in one book. Okay, so if you've seen the furry hackers that got into the Heritage Foundation, if you are literally, I cannot believe how far this retarded siege sex shit spreads. Please. No one ever mentioned gay furry hackers in my chat again, or we have a fucking aneurysm. I don't even think that chat log's real. The Heritage Foundation chat log you're talking about, I don't even know if that's real. I saw Where's Rita? Rita's been arguing about on Twitter. It's like so retarded. They got like raped today as well. I can't remember what Rita's Twitter account's called. You shouldn't believe if you see a story about gay furry hackers or something equally preposterous. It's probably best to just guess that it's a Russian op. It really is. Like that's everything I've ever seen. You see something retarded like that, it's probably just Russians. It's probably just Russian-funded hackers out of some shithole European country. It's probably nothing to do with furries or homosexuals. It's probably just some turbo war is tied by the Russians. That's probably the case. Just because someone hacks something and then puts up a notice saying, I am a gay furry hacker, that's not actually very good evidence that it was actually a gay furry hacker that did it. Because oftentimes people aren't very upfront with who they are when they're taking huge risks and illegal actions.
When the very institutions that you're defending are defending sort of your... That's okay, kind of. I'll say my piece. I'll say my piece. Brianna, did you say that there was a conspiracy theories that are being promulgated by right-wing media sources?
I mean, you can literally look up, like today, that exact group got completely fucked. One of their members turned on them, defaced. Oh no, sorry, this isn't today. This is from like a year ago. So about a year ago, not even actually 6 months ago, that group got completely fucked because one of their members turned on them and like changed their blog to be like pro pedophilia. So like, are they pro pedophilia now because their blog said it was pro pedophilia? They're now pro pedophilia, gay furry hacker group because they said that on the website once. Obviously not.
Did you say that?
I don't want to get into this with you, Rob, today, because what's going to happen is we're going to...
Right, let's run this back.
Wave things away as a conspiracy theory and say that all of this distrust is just hyped up misinformation from right-wing sources calling it. It's easy to make those claims when the very institutions that you're defending are defending sort of your... That's okay, kind of. I'll say my piece. I'll say my piece. Brianna, did you say that there was a conspiracy theories that are being promulgated by right-wing media sources? Did you say that?
I don't want to get into this with you, Rob, today, because what's going to happen is we're going to go down a rabbit hole, and this whole panel that's about structural distrust is going to be like adjudicating a bunch of...
No, that's not what's happening, Brianna. I'll explain what happened. I feel that I actually...
Okay.
So you should absolutely, like, you're on a panel about whether institutions are broken and whether there's distrust in them, but you're refusing to get into the details of any specific allegation against the institutions, any specific allegation of corruption, because you don't have any knowledge of it. She has no idea. She's completely uneducated, completely uninformed. I wouldn't go on this panel. There's no way I would ever go on a panel like this, because I have to sit here. Rob says something. I'm going to have to sit here, Google it, learn about it, figure out what I think actually happened in that situation. So I would never go on a panel like this. I would never accept an invite to go and debate people on our institution's broken because I don't know anything about it, especially not American institutions. Wu has decided to do that. Wu thinks of herself as some kind of political strategist, but is completely unwilling to argue any specific point. And it always is. It's always, we need to talk about policy. What policy? Well, we should just talk about it. Well, can you try talking about a policy? No, I think we should talk about how much we want to talk about policy. It's every single fucking conversation with her. Totally insufferable.
A bunch of...
No, that's not what's happening, Brianna. I'll explain what happened. I feel that I actually...
Okay, one at a time. All of you will stop. All of you will stop, and we will go one at a time.
So she's immediately spurging here.
A bunch of...
No, that's not what's happening, Brianna. I'll explain what happened. I feel that I actually...
Okay,
Look at her fucking lurching forward. You asked me a question.
At a time. All of you will stop. All of you will stop, and we will go one at a time. Finish your thought, Brianna, very quickly, and then we'll go back.
Of course. What I don't want to do today is to start going through a system where we adjudicate a bunch of random conspiracy theories. My point, which I said, is this exists on the right and the left. RFK has been pushing vaccine conspiracies to California moms for a long time. This also exists on the right. It is a human nature phenomenon.
Okay, so Econoboy interrupted me to say me accurately representing what Brianna said wasn't what was said. Then when I asked Brianna, is that what you said? She says I'm not going to engage with it. Both sides engage in conspiracy theories. So Econoboy, perhaps you should speak for yourself and not Brianna, who's unwilling to defend her own positions. Now, she's going to say that things are conspiracy theory and she doesn't want to get into the specifics of them. It would have been the same if I hand-waved away her concerns about the Iraq war by saying, these are outlandish conspiracy theories. We don't want to get into it. You're anti-American. You're a misinformation peddler, you're a conspiracy theorist. Oh, that's what the Bush administration did. And people like Brianna that would have been marching with people like me that were against the Iraq war, that had a healthy distrust of our military industrial complex and CIA, were correct in that instance, just like I'm correct in many of the instances that people like Brianna would call me a conspiracy theorist. The difference that's occurred now, and it was one of the greatest propaganda victories in history, was the very people on the left that used to be the most distrusting of institutions like our intel agencies, our executive branch for things like Bush and the intel agencies lying us into the Iraq war. What happened was they had a president in Barack Obama who basically came in and continued all of those policies. And then we had a president named Donald Trump, who is the avatar for everything that the people on the left hate, who said, wait a minute, I have questions about the intel agencies, to the point where Chuck Schumer told us that he shouldn't question the intel agencies because they'd find 6 ways of Sunday getting back at him, which is actually exactly what they did. And that's all it took for people like Brianna to go from protesting the Iraq war back
totally
the difference that's occurred that had a healthy distrust, and people like Brianna that would have been marching with people like me that were against the Iraq war, that had a healthy distrust of our military industrial complex and CIA, were correct in that instance, just like I'm correct in many of the instances that people like Brianna would call me a conspiracy theorist. The difference that's occurred now, and it was one of the greatest propaganda victories in history, was the very people on the left that used to be the most distrusting of institutions like our intel agencies, our executive branch for things like Bush and the intel agencies lying.
I mean, this is just gish galloping. This is just straight up gish galloping.
Into the Iraq war. What happened was they had a president in Barack Obama who basically came in and continued all of those policies. And then we had a president named Donald Trump, who is the avatar for everything that the people on the left hate, who said, wait a minute, I have questions about the intel agencies, to the point where Chuck Schumer told us that he shouldn't question the intel agencies because they'd find 6 ways of Sunday getting back at him, which is actually exactly what they did. And that's all it took for people like Brianna to go from protesting the Iraq war and being conspiracy theorists against organizations like the CIA and our military industrial complex to now being their biggest defenders. And we could go through issue after issue that shows they lied. For example, you say that they lied in Iraq. I agree. I say they lied in Libya. And they took a country that, granted, had someone who was a bad leader in Gaddafi, but in Africa, that country was doing pretty well. It had really high literacy rates, high levels of home ownership, etc. And now, because of the lies that were spread, it now has open-air slave markets, and there's no hope for them. Or the lies we were told for 20 years after spending trillions of dollars in Afghanistan, that we were told things are going swimmingly. We've almost turned the corner. Trust us, the Afghan security forces will prevail when we leave. And they failed in 3 days. Now, these sorts of lies occur over and over and over. Ironically, we talked about social media. Without social media, how would we have known that when Joe Biden had egg on his face through his disastrous Afghan pullout, where he closed Bagram Air Base, and then we relied on the very Taliban that freed ISIS, who then failed our soldiers, resulting in 13 of them dying? Remember when Joe Biden resolved that by killing ISIS-K, and everyone in the media went along with it, and everyone in the Biden...
This is what Destiny sounds like too. This is what Destiny sounds like. But I will say, at least Destiny, when he's doing this, it's usually because someone has raised a series of points and he's going through them individually. With Rob is throwing out a series of points, and no one else in the panel is willing to go through them one by one because no one has any knowledge or education in this, clearly. So they're not willing to fight him on any individual point.
Administration went along with it. And then it was only because of citizen reporters and social media where the story went viral that actually it wasn't ISIS-K.
Okay,
it was a translator and his family. Let me finish my point real quick. It was a translator and his family that were killed. Now, these sorts of things, this is why there's distrust. This is just one instance, the U.S. military. The more information that gets out there, the more we can see that they've lied over and over. But you could go through a history of it and see that actually our media has worked hand in hand with groups like the CIA for years, peddling their nonsense because they felt that it benefited them personally to get more access to these government institutions.
I guess I'll just ask you directly.
Wait, hold on. I was brought up there. Can I just respond super quickly?
Sure, you haven't had enough speaking time. You're doing fantastic.
So
personally to get more access to these government
I
institutions.
guess I'll just ask you to.
Wait, hold on. I was brought up there. Can I just respond super quick?
Sure, you haven't had
quickly,
enough speaking time. You're doing fantastic.
So I just want everyone to notice what Rob did. He completely mischaracterized what I said. That's not what I said. At no point during the Iraq War did I think like there was a conspiracy theory at the CIA. I thought that exactly what was reported in the New York Times, that there was a rush to intelligence and there was political pressure being put on the CIA. And because the process for gathering that information, it allowed the Bush administration to pick and choose the intelligence reports that made the strongest reports to basically claim that there was WMD in Iraq. The question, Rob, you and I come to two different conclusions here. It's not that I can't point to police scandals or CIA failures or, you know.
Okay, so I think that does sound like Brianna did actually just address at least one point there. I don't think there was a conspiracy theory. I just think people conspired. Well, no, that's not what was said, because Rob was saying it was a conspiracy at the CIA, right? Or a conspiracy with the CIA. That's not the case. You could say that within the Bush admin, maybe there was a conspiracy. But that doesn't require the CIA being active participants of a conspiracy. It just requires the Bush admin putting pressure and exploiting weaknesses of the information gathering process to spin up a story. Right?
Economic reports being cooked or things like that. I see that. I read the newspaper. I see those same stories. We have two different conclusions about how to handle it. I think, and I would propose to everyone out there watching this today, we have a responsibility as citizens to go out, get high quality news sources, be informed, and demand from our elected officials smart reforms when things don't go wrong, which they will in a democracy. From what I get from your point here is we need to burn the entire system down. It's not trustworthy. Yeah, I don't think that's true. I think if you look at other countries around the world like Russia, they would kill to have a democracy like ours, as flawed as it is. And I think like you just take our processes for addressing this for granted.
I do.
He brought me up, so I'd like to respond.
Sure, I'm gonna.
So.
I just want to ask you directly, Rob, though, and this plays into this, and you'll get the chance, and I want to make sure everyone else gets a chance in here too. But I want to ask this question because it's important, right? So, she characterized your position as wanting that the only way to reform these things, to fix this problem, is to burn it all down. How accurate is that? Do you think that media? Let's use media as an example. Do you think that there is a solution to the media, and what do you think that is?
Well, of course there is, right? Like, and this was something that Econoboy said that I think is erroneous. You haven't heard me say burn it all down on almost any of these institutions. Now, he claims that, for example, if I would say we need to get rid of the FBI, because there are other countries that have federal policing forces, that means that I don't want the United States to have a federal policing force. That couldn't be further from the truth. It'd be very similar to in the Jim Crow South. If you found a particular police department that was blatantly racist and was targeting black people, I wouldn't have a problem completely removing that police department and then instilling it with brand new people.
Officials smart reforms when things don't go wrong, which they will in a democracy. From what I get from your point here is we need to burn the entire system down. It's not trustworthy. Yeah, I don't think that's true. I think if you look at other countries around the world like Russia, they would kill to have a democracy like ours, as flawed as it is. And I think like you just take our processes for addressing this for granted.
He brought me up, so I'd like to respond.
Sure, I'm gonna. I just want to ask you directly, Rob, though, and this plays into this, and you'll get the chance, and I want to make sure everyone else gets a chance in here too. But I want to ask this question because it's important, right? So, she characterized your position as wanting that the only way to reform these things, to fix this problem, is to burn it all down. How accurate is that? Do you think that media? Let's use media as an example. Do you think that there is a solution to the media, and what do you think that is?
Well, of course there is, right? Like, and this was something that Econoboy said that I think is erroneous. You haven't heard me say burn it all down on almost any of these institutions. Now, he claims that, for example, if I would say we need to get rid of the FBI, because there are other countries that have federal policing forces, that means that I don't want the United States to have a federal policing force. That couldn't be further from the truth. It'd be very similar to in the Jim Crow South. If you found a particular police department that was blatantly racist and was targeting black people, I wouldn't have a problem completely removing that police department and then instilling it with brand new people, even if it had similar powers. In fact, this actually happened in, I believe, a county in New Jersey where the police force there were considered so corrupt, they got rid of them and replaced. For example, the media, like there are many of these people in the media, as we see this story blowing up in the institution defenders' faces. And this is sort of the irony of Brianna's solution there. Notice, by the way, the red herring that they're presenting. Instead of talking about whether or not I'm correct about these institutions being corrupt, they're like, yeah, there's some level of corruption. We're not going to get into the specifics that you talk about necessarily. And instead, I'll falsely claim that your argument's to burn everything down, and I disagree with that, projecting onto me what they want to argue against.
Rob,
because they
how
can't argue
much?
the fact.
How much of the
I'm
media?
getting to the point.
I've got a specific to talk about.
Oh yeah, we'll
Sure.
get to you. But like, so you keep mentioning that they're hand waving it away. But just to ask you directly, of the stories that come out in the mainstream media, how much, what percentage? And I'm not going to hold you to the exact numbers here, right? But give me a guess. What's your intuition here? How much of it is bullshit?
I don't know, right? I would say that what I can say is this. It's not that they're interested in being journalists. That's not their agenda. Their agenda is being propagandists for their people that they want in power. Sometimes the truth helps benefit that. Other times it doesn't. Like the fact that they lied to us for years, and particularly in the last year, about Biden's cognitive decline. Now we're seeing stories come out that are saying, oh, we knew months ago. Oh, we knew.
Is that presenting the media as like this monolithic thing as well? Oh, the media knew about this. What? Who knew? Who was writing what? Which were opinion pieces? Which was reporting? You have to actually demonstrate that there were lies told. You can't just say, "Oh, well." People in the media have been saying they've known for ages that Biden's cognitive health was declining. Okay, well, were those people publishing articles in the time frame where they knew that said otherwise? Because that would be a lie. But that doesn't seem to be what he's showing. He's just throwing it out that, oh, well, some people said they knew Biden was being retarded. So the media knew. It's like, well, the media isn't one thing, bro. That's kind of like part of why it's more trustworthy, is because they do have incentives that go against each other and will check each other and have an incentive to, you know, if one outlet fucks something up, there's an incentive there for another outlet to expose it. I mean, you even see that. Like, you know, Jesse Singal, didn't he just get a piece published in The Economist about WPATH and how they're sitting on like 6 studies about transgender healthcare that they're just refusing to release, and then showed a bunch of evidence of them deliberately trying to interfere in another study to affect the results. So, like, you can sit there and cry about the institutions, but the fact is that there are incentives in place for institutions and media companies to check each other and that's how it works. Well, there's a big benefit in exposing wrongdoing in a competitor, obviously. There's that incentive there.
Knew it was weird that he was telling us what questions we had to ask, or that he wasn't having story after story coming out. They intentionally hid that. The only reason they're telling it now isn't because it's the truth and all of a sudden they're qualified journalists. It's because they realize, oh shit, our agenda of getting Democrats to win is now in jeopardy, and so we think that Biden needs to be replaced. And I would say it's similar, if we don't mind, because we've been a little chippy here, so I'll make it a little chippier. I would say that Brianna's entire shtick is very similar to that. That all of a sudden, she didn't seemingly...
Okay, so, you know, these are all points that you can engage with and you can fight back on, but what is Brianna going to do? She's going to breathe heavily into the microphone. Gasp an exasperated sigh.
I'd say that Brianna's entire shtick is very similar to that. That all of a sudden, she didn't seemingly have much to say 2015, 2016 about radical leftists on campus that were going after speakers like Milo Yiannopoulos, Ben Shapiro, etc. I could be wrong, and she could show me the tweets or her messaging. to say 2015, 2016 about radical leftists on campus that were going after speakers like Milo Yiannopoulos, Ben Shapiro, etc. I could be wrong, and she could show me the tweets or her messaging if she wants. But all of a sudden, once it started, the infighting hurt the Democratic Party. When all of a sudden these radical leftists were going against another group that prominently votes Democrat and Jewish people, now she wants to speak up, not because she is against the radicalization, because she sees the radicalization of hurting her party now. Unlike the other side, I'm not interested in lying about obvious things like the radical nature of people that are violent and radical on the left, or the cognitive decline of the president. No, I'm not. Go ahead and find me one time ever advocating for any sort of violence or downplay.
No, I meant lying. I'll get to that in a moment. Go
Sure,
ahead.
let's go.
So you were just completely inaccurate in your representation of the Afghanistan pullout. You want to talk about it?
Sure.
I actually think that you're demonstrating the issue I have, which is that we get surface level information and we don't actually parse through it. So, for example, it was a disaster when it occurred. However, President Trump, when he started the pullout, when he negotiated with the Taliban, had 13,000 American soldiers on ground, boots on the ground, and by the time he left office, there were 2,500. So to put that at the doorstep of the Biden administration when the alternative was to inject more troops is disingenuous at best, or ignorant. I don't care which. It falls into the misinformation category either way.
How does any of that prove anything I said being incorrect? Show me once that I didn't say the amount of troops that were there under Trump was downplayed. The issue was this. There was a base level of troops that were there that were preventing attacks from groups like the Taliban and ISIS. We had a secure air base that wasn't being attacked by terrorists, whether it be ISIS or the Taliban. And Joe Biden himself decided before pulling out, he left office, there were 2,500. So to put that at the doorstep of the Biden administration when the alternative was to inject more troops is disingenuous at best, or ignorant. I don't care which. It falls into the misinformation category either way. How does any of that prove anything I said being incorrect? Show me once that I didn't say the amount of troops that were there under Trump was downplayed. The issue was this. There was a base level of troops that were there that were preventing attacks from groups like the Taliban and ISIS. We had a secure air base that wasn't being attacked by terrorists, whether it be ISIS or the Taliban. And Joe Biden himself decided before pulling out the tens of thousands of Afghanis that helped us and the American citizens and our weapons, what he did was pull back the actual troops that were defending Bagram Air Base and then relied on a civilian air base. And because we no longer had enough troops, meaning far less than 2,500, we had to rely on the Taliban for defense. That same Taliban went into Bagram Air Base and freed ISIS, and then ISIS launched.
I just don't. This all just is so much. Wait. So I'm reading this article from AP. The US left Afghanistan's Bagram airfield after nearly 20 years by shutting off the electricity and slipping away in the night without notifying the base's new Afghan commander. He discovered the Americans' departure more than 2 hours after they left, Afghan military officials have said. Wait, so why did they do this? So Bagram was meant to be the last place they left. Taliban was creeping in. They got an agreement to leave with peace with them, but time was running out. Why did they? I can't. Okay.
A terror attack that killed Afghanis and 13 troops. You tell me where I spread misinformation on any of that, or admit that you mischaracterized me and you yourself were lying and spreading misinformation.
No, I absolutely think you had a malicious intent.
Wait, what did Trump put right after the election? The date, the evacuation date.
And when you fail to mention everything I mentioned about Trump pulling out 10,500 of those 13,000 troops, and you put it at the doorstep of Biden, I think you're being wildly dishonest.
Did Bagram Air Base exist with adequate defense when Joe Biden took over?
2,500 troops of 13,000.
Was there any terrorist attacks on Bagram Air Base?
Like, vote for me and I'll pull out then. So what? Oh, okay, so whose fault was it and why?
Or on our U.S. troops in the area until Biden pulled out of Bagram Air Base?
That's got nothing to do with
right.
Biden's
So then, in other words, what you did
was
what you've done is you said I've spread misinformation because I didn't say something that was completely unattached to what we were talking about.
Yeah,
it is entirely attached.
Okay. Yeah, I understand.
I
understand that we're going to want to like adjudicate specific points, but I want to bring us back on topic because the overall discussion is going to be about institutions. Elder Drazi, you've been trying to get in here. I want to give the mic to you, and then we'll get into other. But I do want to keep this from spiraling down a rabbit hole. I want to make sure that we're talking about institutions in general. Why is it bad? How did it get that way? And also, what can we do about it? And I want to get to that. But go ahead, Elder Drazi.
So this applies to institutions in general, but I'm going to use America as my example. Brianna Wu mentioned the WMDs. This is a really, really good example because I lived through it. When our government does blatantly lie, and this seems like a case of this being a blatant lie, that they didn't actually think this, and they manipulated public opinion, there's no accountability. When you have an institution that can lie to its people and nobody suffers the consequences, no real consequences are paid, it doesn't seem like there's much incentive to not continue doing that. There also seems to be a lot of conflation on everybody's part between misinformation spreading through the media and the distrust in the institution, institutions broadly. A lot of this misinformation propagating is because it's like a LARP for a lot of people. At least on the conservative end, a lot of them are like QAnon and the larger groups of like conspiracy theorists. It's not really about not trusting as much as it is being a part of the group. Because there's always been conspiracy theorists. But until there's been a way to network them and then get them all like hyped up on each other, it hasn't really been like this. And so when you have a history of using malicious tactics, manipulating your own perception of what you're doing, you should automatically be distrusted. And when there is
Eldrazi in a cage was a WMD Iraq was hiding. He is kind of like a bioweapon, isn't he? I could see Drazi being an effective bioweapon. 100%.
So, ability, you can't
wipe out an entire population with just bacteria that nobody's ever seen before.
Regain the trust. People need to people need to go to jail. People need to pay fines. There has to be some
fines,
ramifications for these things happening. That's how you rebuild.
Okay, that's
how you rebuild trust. People have to get in trouble.
That's what I wanted to ask the panel, right? And I wanna start with the Kana Boy, then we'll go to Brianna Wu, and then we'll get to Rob and Parallax.
One last thing. The best example of why we shouldn't is Edward Snowden. If you look at that whole situation, that inspires a lot of distrust in the American people, rightfully so.
Okay, so Eldrazi mentioned some of the repercussions that should happen, some of the consequences that should happen when an institution lies to the people are fines and jail time. Do we agree with this? Why or why not?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I think that if you were to find that,
yeah, isn't Snowden like kind of a fraud? I don't know enough about it. He lies and overblows the government's capabilities. Stuff like they can track your phone even if it's off. I've closely followed the saga of Edward Snowden from the moment the former CIA and NSA IT contractor grabbed the global limelight with both hands back on June 12, 2013, by Chinese media, exposing American government secrets on a scale nobody had ever done before. I insisted from the outset that Snowden was not the whistleblower he claimed to be, rather an attention-seeking narcissist that certainly once he landed in Moscow on June 23rd, 2013, quite possibly before, he was in bed with Russian intelligence. Moreover, Snowden's 1.5 million stolen documents were nearly all about NSA foreign intelligence and Pentagon military matters, not domestic surveillance. In short, the Snowden saga as presented to the public by Ed and his media enablers was a fantasy. Now, more than 3 years later, my position, which garnered me criticism and epic amounts of social media trolling, has been vindicated by several sources, including the US Congress Oliver Stone's Apologia as film about Snowden has just opened to decidedly mixed reviews, and its premiere has been marred by the overdue intrusion of reality on this Moscow fable. Stone has a long history of making truthy movies based on Kremlin propaganda, and his latest sticks with that dubious pattern. I've taken the Snowden debacle personally, in no small part because when I worked on the NSA counterintelligence, it was obvious that something like Snowden was bound to happen. By ignoring basic security, by outsourcing core missions to greedy defense contractors, by allowing the security clearance process to fall apart, and above all by oversharing sensitive information with people who had no need to know, as the spies say, NSA and our whole intelligence community created the circumstances that made Snowden possible. What the public's learned over the last few weeks has fundamentally changed the debate on Snowden. There's no going back for fabulous to accepted the Kremlin's cover story about Snowden. Ed's coordinated propaganda campaign centered on his movie, including a plea for presidential pardon, has been backed by NGOs and celebrities galore, has been blown apart by the truth finally getting out. First, we have the vivid account of Stephen Bay, who had the hard luck of being Ed's supervisor when he fled his NSA contractor job in Hawaii in the spring of 2013. only to wind up under Vladimir Putin's roof a few weeks later. Bay's telling of the story is balanced and utterly damning. Snowden, his supervisor, knew bears little resemblance to the Saint Ed image the media has fed to the public for years. Bay's account portrays a dishonest and devious junior analyst, an IT sysadmin, who recently had been promoted in serious intelligence work, and it wasn't going well. Snowden was having problems with his co-workers and supervisors. Moreover, Snowden didn't really know anything about the top-secret NSA programs he exposed to the world. Even the details of the alleged NSA domestic surveillance, cornerstone of Ed's crusade, were beyond his limited grasp. As Bay explains, all of the domestic collection stuff that he revealed, he never had access to that, so he didn't understand the oversight and compliance. He didn't understand the rules for handling it, and he didn't understand the processing of it. In other words, Snowden's claim that he discovered spying on Americans and was so appalled he felt compelled to blow the whistle is simply a fabrication. Ed decided to steal classified information long before he knew anything detailed about Signal's intelligence. Having spoken to several senior NSA officials about what Snowden really had access to, and when, I can confirm the veracity of Stephen Bay's story. That said, Bay's account is downright polite compared to what we've learned from the long-awaited congressional report on the Snowden debacle. For over 2 years, the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, the HPSCI for short, pronounced HIPSI by Beltway Cognoscenti, conducted an investigation of what happened, how and why, its findings irrevocably shatter the claims of Snowden and his media enablers. Okay, well, that seems pretty clear. That all seems pretty clear. Okay. I mean, if it's confirmed by multiple sources and a Congress report that he never had access to the stuff on domestic collection, then it's just that just sounds like it's a complete fucking lie that, oh, he was, trying to expose this stuff. No, you stole a bunch of data and then you fed it to a foreign government, and they crafted a story to do maximum damage to the reputation of the US government. Multiple US source against a whistleblower. Come on. So one guy, okay, so this is what you're saying, is you're saying one guy's lie. You're saying it's more preposterous to suggest that one guy lied versus the entire, like a whole set of committees and intelligence agencies that were doing contrary reports where they all have incentives against each other and to find certain things and political agendas in certain directions, where all these people came together and none of them found anything. They all came together and they all started lying. That's less preposterous than one guy lying. Okay. Sure thing, man. It's like trusting the police about the police. It's literally not. It's literally not. It's not just because it's not just the NSA did not investigate itself. There was investigations by other intelligence agencies and committees put together by Congress to review the way the data was handled. In regards to the US, yeah, of course they say they are okay. Okay, you can assert this, but you're just like retarded. You're just asserting conspiracies. You're just saying, well, it doesn't sound very likely that the US would be telling the truth about themselves. What is the US? There's a whole bunch of different institutions that have contrary motives, bro, and contrary guidelines. If you can substantiate to me something that you've got an issue with, or something in those reports that you've got an issue with, that you think is a lie that was poorly founded, or you think it was based on bad information, then you provide that to me. But I'm reporting from the Observer here, talking about from a ex-NSA agent who is referencing, well, not even NSA agent, I don't think, but he worked with the NSA at one point, who's referencing stuff from Congress. He's referencing sources at the NSA who had knowledge of Snowden's work there, who assumedly have had to sign affidavits when they testify. I assume most of this was done to Congress. Like, there's so many layers here of accountability that you're just having to totally disregard in favor of a myth about this guy this fucking junior analyst who stumbled across a mass data collection scheme by the US government on their own population and was so disgusted by it that he had to run to Russia. You don't understand Korea America bad. Yeah, I should have realized. Not like he had a choice with Russia. Where else? Okay, explain this to me. Explain this to me. How can it be true that he stumbled upon a mass domestic data collection scheme if he didn't have access to the data collection scheme while he was at work? Explain that to me. Answer that simple question, because that is the biggest glaring issue from this half of an article that I've read. That immediately dispels the myth about Edward Snowden. That immediately creates a huge gap in his story that impugns his character. Oh, wait, Apfel. I'm waiting. One of the two journalists Snowden was using was Glenn Greenwald. Okay. Okay, so you've got nothing then. You've got no reason. You've got no basis for this opinion other than just America bad. Don't trust the government. Okay, cool.
That an institution was sort of purposefully lying to cover up a scandal or cover up, hide data or something like that.
You do the Shapiro tactics good. First of all, that's anti-Semitic, and second of all, asking you to justify why you have an issue with the reporting on something is not a tactic or a Shapiro thing. It's what people do when they're trying to learn the truth about a story. That's what intelligent people do when they're critically thinking about a viewpoint being given to them. They say, "Oh, really? Why do you believe that? What's your basis for that?" That's what happens.
That would be valuable, or make opaque what should otherwise by statute be transparent. Then of course, that whatever the ordinary prosecution process should be. Now, obviously, I think the big difference is going to be obviously like how we would view someone's intentions, right? Similar to what Brianna said, I think where Rob and I might fundamentally.
How's it anti-Semitic to call out debate tactics? Because you're talking about you're saying we're using Jewish tricks. You're saying it's like a clear dog whistle, bro. You're saying that me and Ben Shapiro are both using Kabbalistic Jewish tricks. It's a very clear dog whistle, okay?
Disagree is how bad faith the intentions are of these actors. I don't really think that somebody and I'm not saying Rob would say this, I'm not really sure, but take Dr. Fauci, for instance. I feel like a lot of people in their heads, whether you be right or left or whoever, people who hate Dr. Fauci, essentially, in their heads, they're like, Dr. Fauci is a piece of shit. He's a liar. He's a
I'm looking for a new Shabbos guy. Are you looking for a job? You're looking for a job. I'm looking for a new Shabbos guy. Holy fuck, that actually serious. I'm joking about the fucking anti-Semitism thing. I'm joking about the Jewish tricks thing. Holy fuck. You have so autistic, I swear. Holy shit.
The intentions are
way too many people taking that seriously.
I don't really think that somebody and I'm not saying Rob would say this, I'm not really sure, but take Dr. Fauci, for instance. I feel like a lot of people in their heads, whether you be right or left or whoever, people who hate Dr. Fauci, essentially, in their heads, they're like, Dr. Fauci is a piece of shit. He's a liar. He's a con man. He wants to hide things for this, that, or the other reason. When, I don't know, for me, I feel like you see a very difficult situation. You see a man actively acting as both a public communicator and as someone who's trying to delve into the data and understand exactly what's going on. It was a chaotic situation.
Dershowitz strikes. Is Dershowitz the one that pretended to have a seizure on social media? Was that Dershowitz? That shit was so funny. That was him, right? Or was that someone else? Oh, I'm thinking of different Jews. Yeah, people were sending strobes to him on Twitter, right? Yeah, I'm thinking of Icon, different Jew. Totally different Jew.
To that degree, that's why I don't even necessarily blame the Trump response totally. Obviously, I think that there were mistakes made even contemporarily that I would call out, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, Trump's a piece of shit. He just wants millions of Americans to die. That's why he did this COVID policy. I'm not going to, no, of course not. He might be a dumbass. He might be incompetent, but I'm not going to, create some theory in my head about how he's trying to kill people or something, just because that's actually what did end up happening. And so it's a matter of
all big New York Jews in the media all just blend into one in my mind. Okay.
The actual reasons as to why they're doing certain actions. And again, the last sentence that I'll say is, again, governments all over the world have
They're all
scandals
just
on a consistent
Dershowitz.
basis, right?
They're all
But
just Dershowitz to
few
me.
governments struggle quite as much with trust as we do. It's a matter of our democratic institutions, not a matter of which particular institutions exist or not.
So
can I answer your question that you asked a minute ago, Wick?
You
I'll
may.
do it super quickly.
Yeah,
So the
take it
question
easy on
was, is
that.
it good for people to go to jail if they break the law? I think that's true, but I think
to be
like,
clear, not
yeah.
to break the law.
Okay, so now they're proposing the idea of giving jail time or fines for politicians who lie. I don't think you could you even do that in America? Is that literally even, surely the First Amendment would mean you couldn't pass some shit like that.
But when they are found to have lied or covered up or been dishonest with the American people. But I guess just to, and I'll let you answer this first, right?
I may have misunderstood it.
No, it's fine.
Please proceed.
One of my major issues with that line of thinking of they lied, so they should go to jail. How do we adjudicate? And I kind of mentioned this. How do we adjudicate they were lying versus they just fucked up? Right?
Clinton got pinched lying. Like, what are you guys on about? Yet you can't lie under oath. You can't lie in fucking court. Yeah, no shit. That's not what anyone's talking. Obviously, there are circumstances we can't lie, but the idea that you would make a rule says politicians can't lie, and then courts have to enforce that, and the state has to dish out punishment to politicians for lying. That's like a whole different thing. I don't think the First Amendment would allow for that. Really, I don't think I can't imagine American courts reading the First Amendment in a way that allows that. Personally.
Yeah. I think that's a really good question. I think in a democracy,
trials,
generally speaking,
I know nothing. So
elected officials to jail is a dangerous path if it's not something that's really, really over the line. Like say Rod Blagojevich in Chicago, basically trying to sell was it a Senate appointment for favors? That was a situation where he did deserve to go to jail. I think all of us would probably agree. The big problem is a real failure to hold.
Governor of North Dakota gets 18 months for telling his wife he liked her hair when he didn't.
Hold politicians, and I think even our own party, to account. You know, one of the reasons I was so thrilled to see the election in the UK the other day is, you know, the Tories had run that government into the ground, and there had just been year after year after year of no accountability. I thought that was really, really good. So what I want to see is a culture.
And British politicians lie. I believe actually Wales has a law against politicians lying. I believe you can actually get fined in Wales for lying as well. Yes. Wales becomes first place in the world to ban politicians from. July 2nd, 2024, the Labour-led Welsh government committed to implementing a law criminalising lying in politics. To make it possible to exclude, in the event of proven lying, members of Senedd, the Welsh Parliament, and disqualify candidates from future elections. So yeah. Who decides what a lie is? A court, I guess.
Us expecting more of our elected officials and not being afraid to vote in primaries, vote for someone else. I think that's the fundamental problem, is the voters are choosing to not hold these elected officials accountable.
To push on that just a bit,
sure,
though, right? I think that might be fundamentally incompatible with what some other people here are advocating for, which is if you are dishonest or if you fuck up, you will have a trial, right? You'll be put on trial and go to jail or be fined or have some other negative consequence. Well, at least for my period in the military, and I can speak with some experience on this.
Sure.
Right? If you fucked up on certain things, you would go to jail, right? Like, so when I was a crew chief, we would have the report, the little flight checklist thing, and we would have to sign off on how accurate that was. And if you had a red X condition, which is grounding the plane, right? A red X condition, and you didn't check that properly, or you let the plane fly with that condition still in place and something happened, you are criminally liable for that. But the unfortunate side effect of this is at least as the trickle down, is it leads to people not doing anything at all, right? Because anything they do, there might be a consequence for, right? If you fuck up when you're repairing that and you cost the government $1 million or something, you get screwed over.
But this is how you know no Americans have been to Wales, because you guys are like saying how cool Wales is. No one who's ever been to Wales or knows anything about Wales thinks Wales is cool, okay?
And so what a lot of people would do is nothing, or as
miserable
little as possible.
fucking place.
And so when we want governments to do more for us, right, to get in there and to fix some of these problems, one of the reasons I think that a lot of them don't is because, unfortunately, we punish you when you mess up, but you don't get rewarded when you succeed. But that's just my thoughts. I could be wrong, but I want to get other people's opinions.
I'll jump in if no one minds. So I sort of like, you have to be careful, right? Because we're talking about more than just governmental institutions. For example, the mainstream media. Should someone in the media go to jail if they lie? No, like, right? Let's be honest. And the same is true of people in government. If there are mistruths that are spoken, that doesn't necessarily mean you go to jail. Now, there are certain things that we would say potentially. So Econoboy brings up Fauci. If Fauci lied under oath, which it appears he did, about whether his institution was funding gain of function in a Wuhan lab, then absolutely that is something that he should be punished for legally. But if he just lied, and speaking of why we don't trust institutions like Dr. Fauci and the medical institutions, this is something... Please raise your hand if you disagree with this. Here's something we can all agree. Fauci came out initially and said, don't worry about getting masks. Don't worry about it. They won't help you, right? And then like 4 weeks later, he's like, never mind, we had to lie to you because we were afraid you were all going to go out and buy masks. But we knew all along they helped you. Now, that's a noble lie. He shouldn't be prosecuted for that, but he will term that as a noble lie. He'll say, I lied for good reason. But the problem is that lie creates real distrust, because if he lied to you there, when he's telling you that you can't go to work and you're losing your home and you're losing your small business because of it, is he lying to you again? Because he thinks the greater good means that you have to be lied to? And so that lie necessarily, I don't think would be one that he should be prosecuted. But the lie of lying about gain of function under oath, that's one that potentially could be prosecuted. Or people on his team, it seems evident from their emails, they were intentionally subverting Freedom of Information Act request and the way that they were communicating. That's something that could be criminally punished. But not everything that is a lie from the government is something that would be criminally punished. Now, I think it's
just
ironic
when the left does it, right?
Oh my god, I have to... Did this actually happen? What's the actual... Oh yeah, so I don't know if you guys have noticed. We kind of missed it. So what happens here?
You go to jail. Now there are certain like
because can do that X condition would go to jail, right? Like, so when I was a crew chief, we would have the report, the little
Brianna's like sitting here soaking, right?
And if you had a resolution still is possible in there, don't with other people's opinions.
I'll jump in if no one minds. So I sort of like, you have to be careful, right? Because we're talking about more than just governmental institutions. For example, the mainstream media. Should someone in the media go to jail if they lie? No, like, right? Let's be honest. And the same is true of people in government. If there are mistruths that are spoken, that doesn't necessarily mean you go to jail. Now, there are certain things that we would say potentially. So Econoboy brings up Fauci. If Fauci lied under oath, which it appears he did, about whether his institution was funding gain of function in a Wuhan lab, then absolutely that is...
Like, look, and now here, she starts sulking and going on her fucking TV. She's sitting there playing Mario on her expensive CRT that she bought for speedrunning Super Mario 2, playing as Peach. And just sitting there, just sat there like a fucking child, looking over her CRT over here, playing a NES. Like a total sped, just throwing a tantrum. And she goes on about other people being childish. Yeah, I think she's trying to do the Destiny piano. I think that's the tactic here, to be honest. That is a 50-year-old sulking like a 5-year-old. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Something that he should be punished for legally. But if he just lied, and speaking of why we don't trust institutions like Dr. Fauci and the medical institutions, this is something... please raise your hand if you disagree with this. Here's something we can all agree. Fauci came out initially and said, don't worry about getting masks. Don't worry about it. They won't help you. Right. And then like 4 weeks later, he's like, never mind. We had to lie to you because we were afraid you were all going to go out and buy masks. But we knew all along they helped you. Now, that's a noble lie. He shouldn't be prosecuted for that, but he will term that as a noble lie. He'll say, I lied for good reason. But the problem is that lie creates real distrust, because if he lied to you there, when he's telling you that you can't go to work and you're losing your home and you're losing your small business because of it, is he lying to you again? Because he thinks the greater good means that you have to be lied to. And so that lie necessarily, I don't think would be one that he should be prosecuted. But the lie of lying about gain of function under oath, that's one that potentially could be prosecuted. Or people on his team, it seems evident from their emails, they were intentionally subverting Freedom of Information Act request and the way that they were communicating. That's something that could be criminally punished. But not everything that is a lie from the government is something that would be criminally punished. Now, I think it's
just
ironic
when the left does it, right? When the right does it, it's noble and great and awesome. But when the left does it, it's pernicious.
It's funny you would bring that up, because I'm going to make the exact counterintuitive point. Actually, I've been quite consistent for things like mishandling of classified information, FARA violations, etc., because they're so prolific in our country and they're almost never charged. I didn't think that people like Biden or Hillary, etc., should have been charged. Neither did I think Trump should be charged. I think it's hilarious, though, to hear Brianna say it's dangerous to charge politicians.
Still just going. Still just ramble. Still sitting there on their own, playing a fucking video game.
Everyone and their mothers trying to charge Donald Trump, even running on promises of getting Donald Trump, making new legal theories, resulting in things like banks that were happy with him and there were no victims. He has to pay $500 million in fines, and alleged FEC violations that the FEC said weren't violations or didn't charge him for. A novel legal theory that's never been used on anyone, let alone a former president of the United States or frontrunner. They're going to use it to charge him with 39 felonies. Oh, by the way, did you see today that a court just overruled that actually Hillary for America and one of their super PACs actually violated the very same FEC law in claiming that they was using an internet exemption when they were spending their PAC money, and falsified records saying that it wasn't campaign expenses, but it was other things. The very thing that Trump was accused of.
This speaks
they're
to
not going to be
distrust.
charged.
This speaks to distrust in institutions.
But
and
hold on, Wick. If Rob is going to attack me and mischaracterize me, I need to just ask the right to respond to it. And I don't want this to be the show today. I have no interest in doing this with you, Rob. I'm recovering from surgery. I don't want to get in a fight with you, but I'm not just going to sit here if you're going to do this, okay? What I said, and everyone can go look at the tape there, is I said for extreme cases of wrongdoing for a politician, and I used Rod Blagojevich.
Wait, sorry, I missed the I'm recovering from surgery line.
If Rob is going to attack me and mischaracterize.
This speaks to distrust in institutions.
But hold on, Wick. If Rob is going to attack me and mischaracterize me, I need to just ask the right to respond to it. And I don't want this to be the show today. I have no interest in doing this with you, Rob. I'm recovering from surgery. I don't want to get in a fight with you, but I'm not just going to sit here if you're going to.
So just the immediate, crying about being in recovery from surgery. We can't argue on this panel. We can't argue on this debate panel. Sorry, Rob. I can't argue with you about specifics on this debate panel because I've just recovered from surgery. Why are you here then? Why are you here? Leave.
I said, and everyone can go look at the tape there, as I said, for extreme cases of wrongdoing for a politician, and I used Rod Blagojevich in Chicago as an example. I think it does make sense in that case. In my view, Donald Trump does rise to that level. And that's what I said. So,
okay, but just to be clear,
I don't want to go in.
So, Ram was off a thing, and then Rob can't respond, and immediately playing the victim. And this is what I saw up to last night. This is just crazy. The way she acts here is insane. It's about to be the funny. This might be one of the funniest Woo content.
And that's what I said. So,
okay, but just to be clear,
I don't want to go into it all day. This is
Brianna. I don't understand your position. I'll just say this. I'll just say this quickly. It seems like you're trying to perpetuate your status as a victim. This is sort of what these panels are about: is getting into issues and going back and forth. And from the get-go, it seems like you're very reticent to talk specifics.
It is a fire hose of bullshit, Rob. You just spew bullshit, and we can't have a conversation.
Okay. So go ahead and interrupt. I understand why you'd be reticent to want to get into specifics with me because I think you'll know the outcome.
So she's shouting there.
So I think my interpretation of what you said there is very accurate. You tell me if I'm wrong about this. I'm trying to steelman you. You said, of course, there are extreme examples.
Yeah, Stylish. She's got this CRT sitting in the background that she plays Super Mario 2 on, and she's just playing it like Destiny on the piano, like a child throwing a tantrum the whole time Rob's talking.
Into specifics with me because I think you'll know the outcome. So I think my interpretation of what you said there is very accurate. You tell me if I'm wrong about this. I'm trying to steelman you. You said, of course, there are extreme examples when politicians should be held legally accountable.
Do you disagree with that, Rob?
Let me finish. However, we must be very careful because it does set a dangerous precedent charging elected officials. Is that a steelman of what you said?
Whatever. Dude.
I'll step in. Yes, I think
It's just again sulking. Whatever, dude. You're acting like a fucking child. You're a 50-year-old individual acting like a child.
that is a steel man. However, right? I think that do you disagree that there are things an elected politician could do that rise to a certain level that despite that there are some dangers to this, that we should prosecute them anyway? Do you disagree with that?
Yeah, this is however much you think this TV costs. It's more than $1,000, I believe. It's like a super expensive. I saw people shitting on it because apparently this is the one that all the try-hard, retarded consumers get who are like super base level but want to spend a lot of money on one of these TVs. But it's not actually any better than like other ones that are available for cheaper. Apparently, that's what I heard people saying.
In a vacuum.
Wick.
No.
Okay.
So what's the argument?
Here's the argument. The argument was that there were 2 points being made. Of course, there are times when things are so serious that they need to be prosecuted. However, in general, we should be reticent to want to prosecute lesser crimes because it sets a bad precedent. So then the point I directly make in response to that is, look at some of these cases against Donald Trump. For example, the FEC violation, where no person in history has been charged under this legal theory that Bragg went after Trump for. When we know, in fact, that Hillary's team actually violated the FEC code. Twice they've been found in violation of it, which means that because they were based out of New York, they falsified business records in New York, which was in two.
Why are the rest of them such wet sponges? Don't they have anything to say? No, they're all pathetic, useless retards. Like, who have we got here? Fucking El Nadrazi, Econoboy, Parallax, and Wick. Like, these are some of the most disgusting wretches going. Like, Econoboy has... I don't think I've ever heard Econoboy... Yeah, this guy got mauled by Wu not that long ago. I mean, I always play this
not like
but Wu spurred the fuck out of him. And he's like just totally spineless to her now.
Genuine statement you're
like if you want
that's really interesting.
It's like
I just want to real quick, guys. Brianna just dropped in here for a couple of minutes, so she just wanted to talk for.
I wish I could have been on this panel tonight. I'm still recovering from COVID. Sorry.
Oh, you sound worse than I thought.
Yeah, I feel terrible. Oh my god.
Are you okay?
I am sleeping 11 hours a day. It's
you bring me a
awful.
fork
I
and
don't recommend getting this. So, look, I've listened to this whole panel, and look, Econoboy, I've never really interacted with you before, but I have to say, this has been...
They're good people. Neither of them have been arrested recently. Oh, Drazi was arrested. Wasn't he arrested for not paying child support like a month ago?
Really, really hard to sit here and listen to you talk for an hour and a half because you've got, genuinely, like, you're not trans, you don't have dysphoria, so you're like mansplaining and you're transplaining.
You're mansplaining and you're transplaining.
Are you serious?
Wait, Parallax was arrested too? What was Parallax arrested for? What?
And
Is this like a genuine statement you're making?
I need you to shut the fuck up.
I cannot believe that you're coming.
Whoa. What the hell?
Okay, I didn't expect this.
Blows my mind.
I'm gonna finish saying what I'm gonna.
Yeah, go for it.
I didn't anticipate that one. What is wrong with her? Is she like on something?
I wouldn't want to mansplain.
So it is so fucking smarmy. Jenny.
Wasn't Parallax the one who got arrested for working at a dispensary? I don't know anything about that. That's new to me.
Is talking about some serious stuff here.
Oh, jeez.
Am I mixing him up with someone or leaking something? Maybe leaking something. I don't know.
Jesus Christ, she's coming in to defend Jenny Matrix. She's actually going out of her way to still do run interference for these people. That's absolutely insane.
This is not just you derailing it into stupid bullshit about words you're using. We're ultimately talking about public policy here. Jenny is ultimately talking about how she has less of a voice in public policy, and that makes it difficult. And how
she has less of a voice in public policy.
Dude, Sunday eating while he's streaming is so wretched. Come on, dude. Anyway, you get the point. She came on and spurred out of fucking Econo Boy being like, "You're mansplaining and transplaining," and then was just like screaming over it the whole time. And now he's got nothing to say to her. None of these people have anything to say while she's literally fucking spurring out on this panel. It's so pathetic, man. Everyone just literally sits there and pretends she's not a complete retard lolcow.
And they did so by violating FEC laws. That's literally the same law that Trump broke. And yeah, in New York, they decided not to go after them for felonies. Instead, they paid a fine. So what I'm saying, let me finish real quick, Wick, right? So what I'm saying is, when Brianna's admitting that unless it's a very serious crime, we shouldn't go after politicians, I agree. That's been my stance the entire time. It just so happens that even when we're coming up with novel theories going after Trump for anything, the E. John Carroll, where they changed the law in New York to go after Trump on that case, the case in Letitia James, where the banks were happy, but we're still going to go after a former president for $500 million. All of these are cases you could argue, okay, the classified document case, the electors case, but we're talking about cases where people basically ran on getting Trump that are nothing cases.
Here's the issue.
Brianna seemed to say that we shouldn't be prosecuting those sorts of cases.
No one here.
I've got a question for you.
I'll let you go in a second, but I just, because this touches actually, surprisingly, gang, and
we're close.
It touches on the topic at hand of trust. I can't trust anything you just said, Rob, because not just because of you. It's not. I don't want to mean this. This isn't a personal attack against you specifically. I want to make that clear. But there have been partisans on all sides who will just say things, and we can't. I have no time to fact check any of that right now. I just can't. Right? I'm trying to manage you all, have this conversation, all these things. So I can't believe you. Just take your word, unfortunately, for this. And so what you said could have been completely accurate for all I know, but it also could be.
Wow, maybe like if you'd Googled some of these ideas when they've been brought up beforehand, you'd have some education on them and be able to combat some of this. Because, I mean, we've been looking them up as we go here. You can usually read about one article and get a way better context than whatever the story Rob's saying is than what Rob's giving you. Maybe that would be a good thing to start doing if your entire focus, your career goal is to be a political debate streamer or a political panel host, which it seems all of these people, that's what they hope to do in some form, right? I don't even focus on politics. I'm nothing. Politics is usually a very small part of my stream. But I'm willing to sit here and Google something, read through an article, and figure out whether what I'm being told is accurate or not. I don't understand why all of these people, Brianna Wu, who claims to be a political strategist, who runs a PAC, has run a PAC and was a consultant for another PAC, why she doesn't Google anything. Why she doesn't spend any time looking things up so she can argue these points. Why she thinks the Department for Homeland Security was set up in response to the WMD lie, as opposed to what it was actually set up in response to, which was 9/11. Why does she not have these basic facts on the things she talks about nailed down when she's all about policy and having productive discussions? Instead she's just sitting there playing Mario 2. I bet you spend less time playing Mario 2 and hassling Frank to pay for surgery. Sorry, okay. Let's calm down. And more time researching politics. You know, your job.
Total bullshit. Now, that doesn't to say that you don't believe it's true, right? I'm not calling you a liar in this instance, just to be clear, right? But we have so many different sources of information, and no one can trust.
Hassling Frank. That worked out well, actually, didn't it? That worked out well, hassling Frank.
Any of them. And that's a situation we find on ourselves. One of the downsides of the institutions having degraded throughout America. And I will say this, that there is good reason not to trust any of these institutions. They have failed us. And one of the unfortunate downsides of that is it decreases trust overall. So no one can trust what is true, what is not. And we are all picking our own, we're choosing our own adventure, gang, on what facts we believe, what sources we believe. And we have no more kind of epistemological foundation. But Parallax, you wanted to go in? I'll let you
Rob,
go.
did I hear you correctly when you said?
Well, wouldn't it be great if there was someone here who had like a decent understanding of the topics they were talking about, so they could combat Rob's points? Wouldn't that be amazing?
Did you say that as it pertains to like prosecuting politicians, you by and large agreed with Brianna, but you're pointing out the hypocrisy that when it came to Trump, the left turned on that?
Yes, I think that overarchingly that we should be reticent for particularly small level crimes to prosecute politicians.
So then you were wholly against Trump running on the same campaign promise you just lambasted as it pertains to Hillary Clinton?
I thought that Trump running on lock her up for Hillary Clinton.
I agree that it's hard to combat Rob, but they haven't really meaningfully pushed back on like any of these points. Parallax had some weak pushback on the Afghanistan pullout, but it doesn't seem like any of them knew anything about any of the other topics that Rob's brought up. Because otherwise, like just from the stuff that, or like people didn't bring up anything about this about Snowden. Elder Drazi even just sat there and spoke about Snowden. You're telling me Wu, Econoboy, Wick, and Parallax, none of them know anything. None of them know any of the arguments against Snowden. They don't know the fact that he didn't have access to data on domestic collection or information on domestic collection before he stole it and leaked it to Russia or China or whatever. Just saying none of them knew that. Well, no, sorry, we can interpret that none of them knew that, but it's insane that they didn't. And if they did, they could have actually had a point, but they didn't. They're not. There's no real disagreement. They don't have a disagreement on the facts because they don't know the facts.
Clinton was a really stupid thing to do. I didn't think it was necessarily corrupt because we already saw that the FBI was looking into it. It seems that the Democratic standard is the things Trump said that never came to fruition are things that we all need to be scared shitless of and are corrupt. But then when we see the Department of Justice weaponized to go after Trump and prosecutors basically running on the promise of going after Trump, getting elected, and then going after Trump, Democrats are remarkably silent about it. So yes, I did argue at the time, and I argued against the prosecution of Hillary Clinton for a classified server. The only crime that I thought should have been charged in that whole debacle was when Hillary's team intentionally destroyed subpoenaed evidence. That doesn't mean Hillary did it, but someone on her team the guy's name was Paul Combetta, that knowingly destroyed subpoenaed evidence, that seems to be a crime serious enough that there should be some sort of charge. However, in the only time we know that in any of these investigations where subpoenaed evidence was literally destroyed and was unrecoverable, for some reason the FBI determined in that case to not charge and instead give immunity to everyone. When they went after Trump's team, they decided to do the exact opposite and charge people, anyone connected to him, with any crime, even if it was unrelated to the underlying investigation.
So just two small things I'll touch on and some